Okay, so picture this. It's crisp autumn air, leaves turning all those, amazing shades of gold and red, and a crackling fire.
Oh,
It's the
yeah.
perfect setting for a spooky story, right?
Right.
And we've got a whole collection of them in Grandpa's Campfire Stories.
Uh,
But this deep dive is about more than just getting creeped out. It's about figuring out why these tales, passed down through generations, still resonate so strongly.
yeah.
Why are we still drawn to the shadows flickering on the cave wall, so to speak?
What's fascinating to me is how these stories, told at a simple campfire,
Right.
tap into our deepest fears and desires.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Grandpa, the storyteller,
Yeah.
becomes this conduit to a primal understanding of the world, one where the line between reality and the supernatural is, well, blurry at best.
We've got eerie encounters in the woods, mysterious events by the lake, even a few ghostly apparitions.
Right.
But you're right, it's the deeper stuff that really gets under your skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take the recurring theme of nature's power.
Right.
It's not just a pretty backdrop.
Right.
In these stories, nature is a force to be reckoned with, unpredictable, often unforgiving.
Yeah.
It's like the old folk tales warning us about the dangers lurking beyond the safety of the village.
Yeah, like in Wrath of Mishipeshu,
Hmm.
that lake monster isn't just some scary creature. It represents the raw, untamed power of nature itself.
Right.
It's a theme that pops up again and again, this idea that we're not really in control,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to the natural world.
And it connects to this other big theme,
Mm.
respecting the unknown.
Ah.
Whether it's a Native American legend about a vengeful spirit or an old wives' tale about a haunted forest, the message is clear disrespect traditions at your peril.
Right. Mess with the seer stone in Mystery of the Soul Dick 6, and you might just vanish without a trace.
Exactly.
It's like the stories are reminding us to listen to those whispers of the past, to acknowledge that there are things we can't explain.
It's like the Gothic romantics of the 19th century, using those chilling tales to explore the sublime, the awe-inspiring power of nature that can just as easily destroy as it can create.
Now, amidst all the chills and thrills, Grandpa's Campfire Stories also weaves in these surprisingly poignant threads of love and loss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ghost at Dead Man's Point is a perfect example. It's a classic ghost story, sure. But that detail about the locket with the lost lover's photo, it injects this whole other layer of longing and melancholy.
It's like even with ghosts and monsters, these stories tap into those very human experiences of grief and love, making them all the more powerful.
Mhm.
But it's not all just supernatural encounters and spooky warnings, is it? There's also the sense that these stories are trying to teach us something,
Right.
especially the younger characters.
Exactly. We see the coming-of-age theme play out in so many of these tales.
Mhm.
These characters are thrust into these extraordinary, often terrifying situations, and they have to learn to navigate the unknown, both literally and metaphorically.
It's like they're being thrown into the deep end of the pool,
Right.
forced to sink or swim based on their wits and courage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And often what they're confronting isn't just, a physical threat, but also their own inner demons.
Oh,
Think about Forgotten Trail. It's about a group of friends who get lost in the woods.
right.
But it's also about facing your fears and learning to trust yourself and others when, the pressure's on.
It's interesting how these stories ground the fantastical in very real settings.
Yeah.
You've got everything from the American West to 1920s Berlin, all woven into these narratives.
That's what makes these stories so effective, isn't it?
Yeah.
They blur the lines between history and folklore, making the supernatural feel more, believable.
Mm-hmm.
The Lost Doll does this brilliantly.
Right.
By setting the story in Berlin during that turbulent period between the wars,
Yeah.
it adds a layer of historical anxiety that seeps into the narrative.
It's like the real-world setting becomes another character,
Right.
adding to the sense of unease or dread. And then there's the way Grandpa incorporates actual legends and folklore into the stories.
Right. He seamlessly blends these local legends like the tale of Mishipeshu
Right.
with more universal folklore like the werewolves in the Midnight Howl. It's as if he's drawing on this vast tapestry of storytelling, showing us how these ancient fears and beliefs still hold power over us.
It's like these stories are tapping into a kind of collective unconscious,
Mhm.
reminding us that even in our modern world, we're still drawn to those campfire tales whispered in the dark.
And that brings us to what I think is one of the most compelling aspects of these stories, the exploration of human nature.
Oh, okay.
We see characters grapple with greed, ambition, and the corrupting influence of power.
Yeah, like in The Devil's Gambit, where George's desire for wealth leads him to make a deal with the devil. with, shall we say, less than desirable consequences.
Right. It's a
Yeah.
classic cautionary tale,
Bro.
and yet it still resonates because we recognize that potential for darkness within ourselves.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
reminds us that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we create ourselves.
It's fascinating how Grandpa's Campfire Stories isn't afraid to delve into those darker aspects of human nature.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying that the things that scare us most are often reflections of our own internal struggles.
Mhm.
But there's also this underlying theme throughout the book about the power of belief itself. It's like the stories are asking, like, what if just believing in something, even something, fantastical or frightening, actually gives it power?
Precisely. The characters who are most open to the supernatural, the ones who haven't dismissed those old stories as, mere superstition,
Right.
they're often the ones who have the most profound experiences.
And those experiences, even when they're scary, can be transformative, right?
Absolutely.
They force those characters to confront not just the unknown out there, but also the unknown within themselves.
That's the real magic of Grandpa's Campfire Stories, isn't it? It's not just about ghosts and monsters,
Right.
but about how those encounters with the extraordinary Maudry reveal something essential about what it means to be human.
It makes you wonder what Grandpa was really trying to teach with those stories.
Yeah.
Was it just about, entertainment? Or was he passing down something more? Something about facing our fears, understanding our place in the world, maybe even acknowledging those things that logic can't quite explain.
And that's the question I'd like to leave you with today.
Okay.
As you delve into your own reading list this fall, think about the stories that have stayed with you, the ones that have sent shivers down your spine
Right.
or sparked your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
What do they say about your own fears, beliefs, and values?
Maybe those stories we tell around the campfire or read late at night with a flashlight under the covers aren't just idle entertainment.
Right.
Maybe they're maps to our own internal landscapes, helping us navigate the dark woods and uncharted waters of our own lives.
And who knows, maybe by embracing those stories, by acknowledging those whispers of the unknown, we keep a little bit of that campfire magic alive within ourselves.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
So, as the nights get longer and the air gets crisp, let's all embrace the power of a good story. And if you find yourself looking up at the shadows dancing on your wall, don't be afraid to lean in a little closer.
Oh, yeah.
You never know what truths might be whispering back.